Welcome to episode 111 of A Master's Degree in Rolling Terribly. I'm your host, Deddy, and I just want to start by saying, Almighty, Great Oak, forgive me, for I have sinned. I called you bad words this week and last week. I think possibly during the unboxing, but that's not really the point. Oaky boy, you watched as I got smited by spitting dregs, laughed when I miscalculated my range, and made sure my null was on top when I desperately needed it to not be. I tried to see the light. I even tried to create the light. Yet you still forsook me by sending your disciple Gaz to consume all that I helped build. And it left me in eternal darkness. So I say once again, screw you, Great Oak. You will not win. For if you strike me down, I will become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. Isn't that right? Gaz! Say hi, Gaz.
Hi guys, it is 100%, 100%. You got to quote the good lines.
What do you
So,
mean? I came up with that on my own.
yeah, 100% original. I mean, it's I'm sure most of the people listening won't have heard that one before, right? It's pretty niche.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's not my fault because I forgot to read the card, and also I turned your light into grass, which is more oaky anyway.
It is
So
definitely more on
I'm
the oaky side.
helping you be more oaky.
It's cool because during the unboxing, it's kind of like, oh, I work with light and also grass. So hopefully, I don't need as much of the light, and I can work with the grass thing we got going on, and also with Mark. And no, that's grass is
No,
okay. I
no
don't
grass.
want it anywhere near as much as you
Yeah.
guys do.
I
Oh,
don't even want grass. Like it barely does anything for me. It's
so
just that
why
my
are we
cards
doing
keep
it?
because my cards keep forcing me to turn whatever's there into grass. And the problem is that there has like for ages never been an element,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Like it's just yeah.
that's
So
true.
because the bleeding claw didn't create any, the
Gemstone doesn't.
gemstone doesn't create
Dream Guard.
any. The grass part Mark will consume, but I haven't been playing the fire card, so it hasn't really mattered that the top of all my colony cards interacts with elements.
Mm,
So
yeah, okay. Well, do you believe in karma? And do you believe in superstitions? Because we've obviously laughed about the Gaz curse, and I'm wondering whether or not it's funny. And I love the meme side of being able to laugh and point all of those kind of things out.
mm.
But like, I'm reaching a point now where I'm thinking like, I think that I'm upsetting the Great Oak
Yeah, 100% you are. Why would you do that? Why would you like encourage the Great Oak to smote you?
because I don't believe in the Great Oak.
Well, yeah, that's why he's gonna smote you. So yeah, no, it is. No, I definitely believe in karma.
Yeah,
It's
okay. I'm just worried that it's
be a good
becoming something.
human.
Yeah.
Be a good human, right? And like at least everybody else wins. So it's yeah, I don't know why you'd tempt that fate being a priest of the Great Oak.
Church of Daddy. That's all.
Church of Deddy. That's right. That's right.
On our agenda, right after our dirt sheet, we will be covering scenario 24, Eerie Grotto. We'll do an amDirt Diaries if there's anything you want to say. And we're going to be talking about the conditions of Gloomhaven as a kind of a new topic and a new ongoing topic. And what I've decided to do is we'll cover as much as we can get through today, but we will roll over the following few episodes. And that way we're not time precious and we don't have to sit down and rush through it all. And we can take our time with it and have some fun with it.
We can unbox the conditions.
We can unbox the conditions. So, dirt sheet.
Dirt sheet.
What's on the dirt sheet, guys?
Yeah. Daddy's going to talk about some things that are happening.
So, Gloomhaven 2.0 has had a recent update.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, it's had quite a few actually.
Yeah.
And from what I could see, because Isaac, I think himself did one of the updates, and this was towards the end of April, I think, and said that the 2.0 is headed for the EU, UK, I think Canada, New Zealand, and AU. And
Like now.
it's loaded on shipping containers, and that was loaded on them on the 29th, I believe, of April.
Of April? Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
I don't know what any of this means in terms of timeline. I don't know whether
Like,
that means
is
they're
he
on their
loading them?
way here. I
Like, did he go over to China
I don't know.
in his
Possibly.
helicopter?
Possibly. Maybe he should
Or is he doing like
transport them by helicopter.
some kind of Santa Claus style delivery system, right? Where he's gonna load up his black helicopter and then fly around. Use the helicopter for good, not evil. Well, for delivering rather than for punching.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I'm not too sure what this means. Like, if it's going to
I-
be here soon, but how soon is soon?
Come on, you're the Kickstarter guy. What does on the boat mean?
I gave up tracking them forever ago. In fact, there
Hmm.
was a game that came out that I backed that I never actually did the pledge manager, and I've gone, where's my copy? And yeah, I'm in the process of chasing that up. So I've gotten really lazy when it comes to actually finding the updates. And I think that's a
Yeah.
really good strategy from board game publishers and developers when, if they just delay it long enough, we'll forget about it eventually.
That's right. And then it's like it just arrives and you're like, "Whoa, surprise."
Yeah, or it doesn't, and
Like I
I'll never
went
know.
Well, you go through the full hype circle back around again, right? You go from no hype when you didn't know about it, then you learn about it, and then you get excited about it, and then you buy it. That's when they need you at peak excitement to give them all your money, right? And then you find out that it's not, so you go through disappointment. So you kind of it's like a cliff, right? Like you're a roller coaster. You slowly go up the hype thing, and then it just peaks, and you realize you're never getting it. So it just drops,
Correct.
all the way down. But then it arrives.
Yeah.
And then you got to firstly remember which game it was,
Hmm.
right? And then once you do, then the hype thing starts over again until you play it, and then you realize it's terrible, and then you fall back off that roller coaster again.
Can I just say, you've just reminded me. That's literally how Frosthaven happened. Because it arrived, and I was like, oh yeah, Frosthaven's here. And there was no plans for amDirt. There was no any of that. We weren't even planning on playing it. But I mentioned it
No.
to you. And then, we were like, maybe we should, look into playing this and opening it up. And then the excitement started to kick in. I was like, oh, maybe we should do this. Maybe we should make a
Hmm.
podcast. And maybe we should, yeah. And now we're here.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we've talked about this. Maybe we should cover it. We should have done this on the 100th episode. In fact, let's record this and then put it on the 100th episode so it just sounds like we did it then anyway. It was a good idea, right?
Yeah.
But the birth of amDirt in short came because, yeah, exactly. We talked about Frosthaven like just in passing, like, oh, that would be cool to play, right? But like this will be impossible to get going. And we knew that Phil was kind of keen as well. But then we talked about doing a podcast in general about games, and we practiced talking to each other and realized it was really fucking hard.
Mm,
Um, and then we were you were like, "Oh, let's like Frosthaven's here. Let's play Frosthaven." Then we got really excited and we threw some things talking to each other and blah blah blah. Got me, you, Phil, and Mark on board. And then I think it was like I reckon like a Tuesday or a Wednesday or something like that. You're like, quick, jump online. We got to record an episode. I'm like, of what? And you're like, of our new podcast, all about Frosthaven. I was just like, oh my god, let's do it. So like that's how it was born. Because it's like you're like, we just let's just to go, let's go.
yeah. And if you've
And
listened to episode 1, that's exactly how it sounds.
yeah, yeah. Well, because funnily enough, and I mean, this is like peeking behind the curtain stuff. So if I'm not supposed to say this, right, because it ruins a whole bunch of people's immersion, just delete this from the recording. But we'd actually played our first scenario before we recorded the first episode. But the first episode we recorded was about like, hey, what are you excited about, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
because it was so quick that we did it. So there was like on the Tuesday or Wednesday after we played, we recorded two episodes. One being like, hey, what are you excited most about?
That's
And then
right.
the next like that night, I think we recorded it again, or the next day we recorded an episode about scenario one and what it was about. So it was kind of weird and talking about this game that we had already played, we hadn't really been excited for, because it was like never going to arrive and actually never get played
Yeah,
again, talking about this hype train, right? Like we'd completely fallen off that, but then the hype was real because we're actually playing it. So I was
yeah.
like, whoa, I'm really excited about this because I'm actually playing it. So it was a weird situation. That on top of the fact we had absolutely no idea what we were doing and how to sound interesting or record anything. So
Well, yeah,
it
well,
was
we had
kind of
to,
a
if we wanted to do something right then and there, we had to do it there, not five, scenarios in, not weeks and weeks
100%.
later. It was like, this is the
Yeah.
time. Do we know what we're doing? Let's grab our headsets, jump into Discord, and try and make something happen.
Just do it. Let's just go. So yeah, it was definitely I like in hindsight, the 100% the right call to make by you, just to like let's just talk and see. I've got a plan roughly. Let's go. But yeah, it was good. So yeah, no, a little bit of reminiscing. But I mean, it's yeah, you're right. That's exactly how Kickstarter works. So,
Yeah.
using your knowledge of this now, when is Gloomhaven arriving?
Oh, you mean we haven't already played the first scenario? Or we're about.
Speaking of which, yeah, exactly.
I don't know. And
Okay.
yeah, I guess because of all the things that we're currently doing, the preparation for it, and this is where I was going with this dirt sheet, was kind of like, yeah, it's more of an open conversation with you. It's also with our audience. It's kind of like what are we doing and how are we going to do it now? If everything was just what do you call it? Happy magical unicorn land. We would hit the ground running when we were ready, and we would do all the same kind of stuff. But it's kind of like do people want to play through? Do people want the podcast to remain the same and stay with the same kind of format in what we're doing? Because it'll probably be more appreciated because it's a game that a lot of people have access to. There's also the timing factor. How the spoilers going to work? Are we going to do them the same way we did it in the past, or do we have to go all the way back to super, spoilery kind of stuff? Is it something that needs to be delayed? Are we going to release episode 1 only to have 2 people listening to it? And both of them are dwarf. Like,
It is tricky because if we get the copy early, like Australia seems to get some of that stuff before some other places in the world, right?
sometimes, yeah.
Um, but even if we don't, like, if we're ready to go, like, let's just Magical Christmas Land, I think is
Oh
the
yeah,
line
sorry.
of, yeah, no, that's all right. Unicorns are cool as well. If everyone in the world got it at the same time, right? There probably is a small percentage of people that are ready for that to arrive and ready to go. Like
Mm,
there'd be a bunch of people waiting for it. So I'm not saying we're unique in that, but we would be one of that group. But we'd probably start, and there's a lot of people that are probably like, "Oh, this has arrived. Cool. Now let's try to figure out how to play it." Right? Like,
mm,
so yeah, you are right. We might fall into this space of like where people don't listen. Although I feel like most of the people listening to this are the ones that are going to smash it out because they're like, oh my God, I just finished it. Right now I can listen to amDirt. It's been out for 1 week.
that's true.
So
I was gonna say, yeah, the other thing obviously is the fatherhood journey thing that's gonna kick in. So that'll be a thing that'll have to happen. So I know I'm not about to say, you know what, I'll just put that on hold and
yeah.
then we'll do into it. But it'll obviously happen after that. So we're looking at look, if it arrives anytime now, yeah, we won't deal with it. We'll get maybe through some unboxings and all of that because that's something I've been talking to you I wanted to do, and in preparation for 2.0. But then, yeah, maybe probably around September, October, we can probably start looking at into yeah, cracking it open if it's here by then.
Yeah, well, that I guess we're just waiting, right? I mean, is it going to be one of those things where it just arrives? We're not going to know, right? Like, is this how it works?
Look, I don't know. I'm not all over the tracking of things. Like I said, it just arrives. Like Frosthaven just arrived at my house. I
You
don't
didn't know it
remember.
was coming.
I knew it was coming, but I didn't have like active tracking like Ozpost etc. saying it's going to be arriving this day,
Yeah.
on a Wednesday or something like that. So yeah, I think it just rocked up, or it was one of those situations where there was a delivery note at my door and it was like, hey, you've got a parcel here, and I'm like, oh, I don't know which one this is. I'll go find out. And I went to the post office and they were like, here you go, have this giant box.
So, I mean, like, I have not interacted with Kickstarter or that kind of space, so I'm not sure how it works. But it's wild that they don't just send you an email and be like, "Hey, FYI,
They
it's
probably
on a
do.
boat." Oh, okay, you just don't see it.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Okay,
saying. I'm probably really bad when it comes to actually tracking it myself.
all right.
But yeah, well,
So what you're saying is we might actually know exactly where it is at this moment, but we're talking about we don't because you haven't checked your email.
look, maybe. But Whining's also been really good. He's been updating me, even though he hasn't
Oh,
backed it. Sorry.
that's true. Like we've got hundreds here. I think he hasn't backed it. Okay, okay, good. So we've got hundreds of people that will be able to let us know when something's happening.
Hopefully.
One of them should check their email.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, okay, cool. Cool. All right, no worries.
But yeah, I think, are we liking what we're doing right now? I like what we're doing right now. I'm happy
I
with
mean,
it.
me too. So 100% of people we've surveyed like what we're doing.
Yeah, okay. It's just, going back, I guess, because we won't do it the same way we did Frosthaven. Now that we're going to have a playthrough, I hope, although that's, gonna still be the same amount of work. There's some tweaking to the Crimson Scales format that I've got going that I've already ironed out and know how I'm gonna do it. So it'll be a good product. It's just, yeah, just trying to work out if people actually want it.
It is a very good question. It is so, and I wonder if it's a if you we build it, they will come type situation.
Yeah, maybe.
I definitely think that Gloomhaven has way more of a I don't know,
Reach.
audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, reach. Yeah, yeah, that's the right thing. And I feel like people will want to watch it at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's also, interestingly enough, I think with Gloomhaven, there's probably a lot less spoilers because I think a lot of that, I reckon a decent chunk of the people playing 2.0 have played Gloomhaven original, right?
Mm.
In some capacity, may not have finished it, but they've at least dabbled in it, and maybe they've played Frosthaven. But so I don't know if maybe the spoilers is going to be such a big thing because, like, while all the classes are new to me because they've all been updated, I also know them all, like the original ones, because I played through digital, so I saw them all through that. So it's going to be, for me, it's more like, oh, I wonder how they've changed this class from what it was to what it is, not I wonder what this symbol means.
Yeah.
And I feel like most people are probably in that boat, and there's probably a good chunk of them that are also like feeling less about less kind of precious about spoilers because you can just go and look it up now,
Yeah.
right? Because all the information's available.
True. The other
So
option, I
it,
guess, is also working, like bringing back amDirt Raw, which we haven't needed for such a long time, but bringing that back maybe in more of a video format, or even just going into recording that as a separate thing, but at the end of the playthrough, so, because we're right there and then.
mm,
But
I
yeah,
feel like amDirt Raw probably goes onto OnlyFans.
that's true. Oh, I still need to organize that. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, subscription. We've got to make money somehow.
Yeah. All right, good chat. I'm glad I don't think we got anything out of that, but it was fun to talk about.
Not at all. And so again, if anybody is curious how we make decisions and plan that shit, this is it. You just heard it.
Pretty
So
much.
we'll probably talk about it when we have more information.
We somehow made a podcast.
111 episodes. If someone had said to you when we did our first episode, "Hey, Daddy, do you think you will make 111 episodes of this show?" I would have interrupted you answering and said, "No,
Mm,
we will not. We will not make 111 episodes because that is ridiculous." Um, and so
yeah,
therefore, I believe we are ridiculous, but in a good
we
way.
are. We are. I don't think we would have even the idea of making 10 at the time.
Correct.
Like we even said
But you know
if
what's
one person
more?
listens to us, like that's
That's what we
fun.
said.
That's all we
One
wanted.
person listens to us. That's all we care about. And
Yeah.
then more than one person did. We're like, oh my God, the pressure now. But like, I think it's even more ridiculous that there are people that have listened to all of those 111 episodes.
That's true.
Well, yeah, now, yeah, they'd be listening to this one. So good on you. You're ridiculous as well.
Yeah. We gotta rename it. Amridic. Oh, that sounds like
Ooh,
it's for a new generation actually. We're probably gonna
yeah,
have to look at doing that, right?
it is. It's probably already on Urban Dictionary.
Oh, damn it. All right. Let's cover scenario 24. So we did scenario 23 a couple weeks back. I don't remember when. And that gave us an achievement and it unlocked scenario 26. And then we
Oh,
decided to do
shit.
scenario 24 this week, which gave us the same achievement and unlocked scenario 26. I'm not sure if we fucked something up, but no one has said otherwise. So I think we're
Oh
good.
yeah, because the playthrough's gone out, right? So people
Yeah.
could have called us on. Yeah, okay, okay. So, and this came about because when Deddy read out the rewards, it's like gain the Frozen Warrior reward or whatever it's called. And I was like, oh, that's real weird because I wrote that down already. Okay, sure. And you're like, unlock this scenario. I'm like, oh, looking at our chart, like we already could have done that one. Maybe I forgot to. And you're like, no, no. Okay, cool. We've just basically done the RPG thing where you're about to finish one path and you go, wait, 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 I got to walk all the way back to the dungeon to figure out what's at the other end. And it turns out it loops all the way around, goes to the same door.
Yep.
So,
100%. I was going to
yeah.
say, yeah, the. Oh no, I've lost it. I don't know where it went. But
But
this week we play as three of us. So,
we do.
just
Again.
like last week, again, except we traded out Mark, who is on tasks for Phil on the gemstone. So in a way, we get to try the new lineup again because, this is my second one as Leaf. So it was kind of cool to see all the different interactions separately. And then next week it's going to be a different lineup again. So this is great.
Yeah. That's it.
All right. Now, do you remember these events that we did this week? They came from the book thing. They came from the
Yeah. That's right.
every 5 scenarios you complete, you have to mark off a checklist thing, and there's a mixture of prosperity and random scenarios and all that. And there's the events. And what it does is when you mark it, it says grab these two events, city and road, and place them on top of the deck. So we are forced to basically do them.
Yep.
And we did them this week. So get this city event 60. We just polished our ales. Okay. We reach into our pocket and we pull out our very last coin and we slap it on the table for the bartender. Trying to be decent patrons, right? Then out of nowhere, this quattrel, looking like he robbed a traveling armory, just waltzes up from behind and snatches the coin. And then he starts going on about how the bartender's rolling in tips and this coin is vital for the military. Something about protecting this rundown place. And the whole tavern clams up and the bartender's just staring at us and wondering whether or not we're going to let this injustice stand. So we had to make a choice. Do we tell the quattrel to give back the coin because the bartender earned it? Or do we shrug, support the troops, and hope some other chump tips the bartender? And you liked this, as in you were excited by the idea of this being an interesting decision, not a obvious and a not obvious. There was some thought that had to kind of go into it a little bit.
Yeah. This didn't feel like a green berry, red berry, or a left or right pathway. It felt like you were, kind of pushing your cause. I
Yeah.
think it seemed to make sense. Yeah.
You know, it wasn't nod and tip your hat or beat the shit out of the person, which is,
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Help the person or just leave and laugh at them while they suffer.
I think Phil and I picked the two opposite ones, and then you had to be the tiebreaker, which is really cool when we're doing three people. And I think we're just doing that on purpose now when we're playing with three, which is great.
100%. Yep.
But you chose to support the troops, which was really cool because you're all about supporting the people. And it actually asked us what our starting party was, which is very cool. So the previous one that we had of this, because this has happened before, but it would have only probably happened during the other pairing of events, because they're obviously required as part of that checklist thing. Interesting, because it actually asks us, if you're militants or protectors, you get this bonus thing, and you get to read a section, which unfortunately we didn't get to read, so we don't know what it is. And then otherwise we lose 2 reputation, right? And we couldn't have gotten that right.
Nope. That's the only problem I have with this one is that after
Yeah.
you find out that it doesn't matter what you pick, which then it's like a completely opposite of what I just said. It sounds like you got lots of agency because you're getting to pick your path, but you don't actually have any agency because it was already predetermined. So because I think both sides check whether you are one of those things, right? Both
Yeah.
A and B.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Protectors or militants. So it's a gotcha. I think it's fair to say, which is a bit annoying.
it is a bit, and I wonder if, and I don't want to. We've already spent a really long time talking about nothing, so I don't want to go down too far this rabbit hole. But I wonder if maybe they should be, in a way, trying to make you pick your alignment, right? So, like, if you say your starting group is essentially what your alignment is, like what explorers, I think. So, like, have one option that is more explory and have another option that is more the other ones, and then jam those on there, right? And I don't know how many starting parties it was, like 4, 5, 6, something
5.
like that. Find some way where they're all on there in some capacity, and then go that. I don't know, that feels like you're doing a bit more because at least you have the option of like going like if you follow the path that your party is supposed to kind of background be from, then you're gonna get rewarded. If you don't, you get the negative. But this one's just like, well, if you didn't pick this starting party, bad luck, you lose.
Yeah, it does feel a little strange considering there's only 2 pairings on that sheet. So it's not like there's heaps of them and we're going to encounter more of these kind of things. It just feels like it's a very, very strict, subset of responses that can come from this. And then we had the road event, which did something similar. I'll cover that one now. The road event was there we were, moonlight shining, about to pitch our tents for the night, and then bam! An Inox leaps out of the tall grass. We reach for our weapons, and she's all like, chill. Foreshadowing, chill. No harm intended. And she says she's looking for a nearby cave, supposedly stuffed with rich dead merchants, and they're bling. Here's the kicker, she's scared of bandits, and offers to split the loot if we play bodyguard. So the choices were to team up with potential Miss Murders a lot for a cut of the treasure, or to tell her thanks but no thanks, and we'll find the treasure ourselves. And then we, because of our experience in the city event, went all metagaming on it.
Yeah, yep. So we decided we're explorers, so let's do the exploring option. And what happened?
We basically, because it was if naturalists, trailblazers, or explorers, and that's if we go, if we decline and seek it on our own, right? But if we agreed to go with her, and if we were naturalists, then we would read the same passage. And then,
Okay.
but if we weren't naturalists, it would then read outcome B, which is what we had, and then it gives us naturalists, trailblazers, or explorers to then read the thing. And if we're none of them, it's basically the same thing as the other one, except this one led to, I think it was Sheila's potion shop or something like that, which gave us 5 reputation or 5
Yeah,
prosperity or something.
we got some special thing, and we took it there, and they're like, "Oh, this is gonna be the best ever." So,
Which
we
I've
got
just realized now marks all 5 of them off, which makes me think that the other event, the city event, if we had the correct party for that, it would have taken us to another thing, which would have given us 5 prosperity.
Yeah, okay, I see. Okay, so they were all covered over the 2 events. That's why it jams both of them in and
Yeah.
forces you, and you're only going to get one, and you still got to choose right. So, okay, all right. So I guess across the 2 scenarios, that makes sense.
Mm.
It still does feel a bit sad face when you realize it didn't matter what you chose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little
So,
bit.
yeah, interesting. Interesting.
But I do encourage the game to have more of those moments. From the fact that it's the explorers, sorry, the starting party thing is really cool. We've had that in Frosthaven when they were pointing out, if these, I think even in Gloomhaven, if you have this member in your party, or if you have Quatril, and then Frosthaven brought in the keywords, right? If you've got those keywords, I like that. I like it. I hope that they keep doing things like that.
Yeah, I think the format the general format I like if they're going to use a keyword, a character, like a starting party, something like that, right? Where it's like a predefined thing. If you have X, is I feel like it should be along the lines of like, okay, you can gamble for extra rewards. If you have X, then you're going to get them, and if you don't have X, then you're going to lose more than if you'd pick the other option. So I feel like it should be an element of like you kind of have to work out if one of your party members is going to be able to help you in this situation. If you feel like they are, pick that path and
Mm,
then kind of gamble with that. If you think that you don't have the tools or the character or the situation, pick the other one and maybe you'll break even or only just lose a little bit. And that
mm.
at least gives you that chance to kind of go like, obviously not with every scenario, you can't, every event, because then it just becomes this guessing game. But like I feel like if you're gonna do that, that's a cool way of doing it
I like
because then you
that. It's
feel
like a
like your
push your luck
decision.
kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like you can kind of, I mean, you can metagame it in a way, but you can go like, oh, we've got someone that's really, the keyword's really strong. Okay, I feel like this is a good one. I reckon strong will help us here. Oh, hey, strong's on the list. We just got a cool reward. Wow, we feel good because we worked out a little mini puzzle,
Mm,
right? Or like, oh, hey, now we have all got the same keywords and it's all just acrobatic or whatever the hell that nimble, I think was the one that never came up.
mm.
No, there's no way we're going to be able to force these bars open or something like that with Nimble.
Mm.
So let's pick the other one.
I'd like it if
And
they had negative effects tied to some of them as well. Like,
I think we have seen.
have we?
Yeah, remember the stab yourself one? I think it was
Oh
like,
yeah.
no, there was one where
If
it's
someone
like if
has
you got
strong,
strong, take more damage or
yeah.
something like that. Because the cards can't stop you or something like that. So yeah, it interesting. But yeah, anyway, I love that system of using those keywords, and it's always interesting when it pops up if you've got blah, because it's always like a ooh, do we, and it's a fun kind of event. But I think yeah, they're right to use it sparingly.
I had just had a real random thought pop into my head when you're doing the scenario, and when you open the first door reader section. If they had every now and then like a negative or a positive keyword tied into those sections, I think that would be amazing. Like, if you've got the roof's caving in a little bit, has anyone got strong? If not, everyone takes the damage. That just little fun things like that, I think would be really, really thematic and really add to everyone's experience being different in any given scenario.
I think
Not game
yeah, I mean
breaking.
it would become a bit more RPG-ish. Like you would feel like your character has more of an involvement of through the scenario
Mm.
than just like the cards you play, because you'd be like, oh, hey, I've got that skill. Like it kind of is that D&D thing where everyone has a bunch of different skills, and it's like, oh, I've got the lock picking, so I'll pick the lock, right? And it would be cool to have that in there as like a little bit of a bonus if you've got that. So yeah, I like that idea as well.
Yeah, you could go back and do some of the lurker ones, and you bring the lurker with you, and it's like, do you have lurker in the party? And it's like, yes. It's like, cool. You finish the scenario, everything's okay, and you have a party. And it's like, ah,
I
nice.
suppose they kind of with the lurker ones they did that a bit where it's like everyone who isn't a lurker
Yeah,
get cursed, right?
that's right.
It's like it's not really a benefit you brought one. It's just that one person doesn't get wrecked by the scenario effect. So
All right, scenario 24, Eerie Grotto. So we got these notes from an Aether about some frozen critters, her directions to find places, top notch. What's in those places? Sketchy details, like she knows how to deal with whatever pops up. Anyway, for this grotto place, after a novel length guide on how to get there, she just jots down, keep globes away from dome. Will destroy creatures. Beware frosted sections. So we start scratching our heads about these frosted sections, but a hint on how to make these icy beasts go poof. We're not passing that up. Sounds like a party. The scenario is complete when sea globes are placed in the dome. Sea being the amount of characters. So we're playing with 3 people, so we had to get 3 of these globes put into the dome. We played it on +1 difficulty this week, making it scenario level 4. No gorilla this week, which means no pet mark as well. That's unfortunate. But we do get Phil back, who's level 7 and itching to pump out some DPS. So the map layout was 5 tiles separated by doors, forming a one-way circuit. The monsters were the same as Scenario 23, with alternative ice variant monsters. So we had frozen cadavers, which were the living corpses, hail demons, which were the wind demons, and harrower ice crawlers, which were the harrower infestors. And we are revisiting the chill condition this week, which all of these monsters seem to synergize around. Very quickly, the special rules were in the second room, the objective orbs were laying down and we needed to retrieve them, so we can forego a top or a bottom action to collect one, and they all provide different buffs upon collection. So depending on which one you pick up. So the first one added +1 to move to all your move abilities. We had a PS2 to all your attack abilities. We have one that was really good, unaffected by retaliate, which was on you, the person who doesn't really attack, although you did attack a lot. And then we had one that was adding chill to all your attacks, which I don't even think we remembered, to be honest.
Phil had it, but I mean he killed everything anyway, so it didn't matter.
It's true. In this room and in an identically sized final room at the end, every character or summon, if it doesn't have chill, it gains chill, which was a cool effect. And there are hazardous tiles situated around representing hot coals that if you end your turn adjacent to them, you can ignore this effect. So the idea is kill stuff. Each of us grab an orb, find the altar, place orbs on the altar. If anyone exhausts, the scenario is lost. How it went. Recap time. The group first questioned why, in a fairly standard setup room, there's a scary harrower protecting a random boulder in the corner, as they spend time wondering its relevance to the scenario before disposing of the new, frosty, hungry corpses moaning in their faces. Daddy immediately starts planning how he's going to distribute prayers into the party, while Gaz goes all atheist and fucks him by not going earlier, converting his light to grass and then mocking the poor priesty leaf boy. Phil and Gaz approach the frozen cadavers and start doing their attackings, and nothings respectfully. Detty sees an opportunity to bestow Gaz with the first prayer of the scenario, only to have Gaz cast confusion onto Detty, causing him to misread the range on his attack, thus no prayers were given. Gaz, in his infinite wisdom, advises Detty he can use the bottom ability on his other card to create the range needed for said prayer, giving ability. But Detty shrugs off this advice as it is stupid and makes no sense. Some would say it was a little too basic. The party dispatch a cadaver, and they request the priest deal with the remaining one, who at this stage has 3 HP and poison. The request is denied as Daddy fucks his third round in a row by drawing his null, and the group begins to question who invited this guy into the group. Phil opens the only door and is greeted by several hail demons and more cadavers, and the group starts to discover ways to finally gain some chill. Daddy musters the strength to bless Gaz with his first prayer in round 4, mind you, only for the chill effect to prevent him from having enough movement to move through Gaz. Thus, being the 4th round in a row, Gaz has booked Daddy. Gaz utilizes burning stingers to kill the cadaver and assimilates the harrower with 2 of his colonies in an incredibly average term, while Phil starts to wail on the newly created cadavers. Meanwhile, Daddy contemplates switching religions. The boys long rest, except for Daddy, who's angrily trying to achieve something at this point. During this rest and after 1.5 scenarios, the chill effect finally shows promise as the cadavers inflict 2 pure damage to the party, while, not much, reduces me to half health. Phil solemnly announces the frustration of taking damage during a long rest, signaling this is some sort of importance before Gaz asks him whether he personally required this damage to come from an attack. To which Phil checks his personal records and then starts complaining some more. Round 7. Daddy plans a really cool turn where he swaps a Hail Demon with a cadaver and lets Phil know how to burst down the Hail Demon in its newly placed position. Phil agrees and they both nod. Just before he can pull off this maneuver, the Hail Demon go at initiative 10 and play a range 3 retaliate 3, which would put Daddy on 1 HP. He again curses the Great Oak, which has clearly forsaken him. Phil starts to blow up the cadavers while Gaz continues to have turns such as get stunned, get pushed into stun trap, and then get pulled and disarmed. Daddy, getting slightly more frustrated, blows a mana pot to create light so he can prayer Gaz and follows this up with an attack on the last Hail Demon, only to top deck his second null for the scenario. Phil applauds and politely comments, "You're having a stellar game, bro." Daddy now knows what it's like to be Phil playing Dota. By round 11, the last Hail Demon falls, and the boys grab an orb each and run toward the next room in preparation of the ultimate breach. Gaz asks Phil how Phil's stamina's going, and the response was kinda okay, but getting lowish. Gaz reminds Phil that we have to still deliver our orbs. During a long rest, Daddy whispers holy sweet nothings into Gaz's ear, and with that, the mammoth beetle, fast asleep, walks into the room, startling the cadavers, and a lowly Hail Demon who immediately attempts to chill the bug and cleave it down. Fortunately for Gaz, while he was sleeping, he was able to sleep ready his shields, armor, and items and everything, and laughs off the onslaught as he takes 2 attack 6s and loses no health. Long rest build incoming. Phil blows rapid calcification, which results in a massive cleave round on the 2 cadavers and then follows it up with a 3rd attack on the only Hail Demon, critting it for a 1-shot. Daddy plays Spiritual Switcheroo on the 2 cadavers and manages to pull a crit on the poisoned one, but because he was chilled, it leads to a fucking annoying math equation, and it'll be the first point in Daddy's talking point segment for the scenario. At round 15, the following conversation ensues. Phil, I'm going to have a short rest. This is not looking good. Gaz, are you running out of cards? Phil, yeah. Gaz, well, don't short rest then. Long rest. Phil, laughing. Okay, I'll long rest then. Daddy, just putting it out there. If one of us exhausts, we lose. Phil, yeah, I know. Everyone laughs awkwardly. We open the last door and I'm met with another windswept ice corridor with the same chill conditions from the orb room and spot the altar guarded by 2 Hail Demons. This is where our objective orbs are required to be deposited, but between us and our goal are a group of harrowers who turn to face us, and before we can react, both sets of monsters rush toward the party, clogging up the hallway. A bolt towards the objective is now looking unlikely as the group must brave one last attack in order to achieve victory. The group prepare round 17, to which one harrower moves into the space Phil was planning to go into, and future Daddy, who's writing this now, who had to watch Phil clap over and over again when Daddy's turns went to shit, enjoys the moment immensely. Phil squishes the freshly laid bees that Gaz lays down and leaps over to the back of the monsters. As Gaz and Daddy soon follow, with Daddy throwing a shield 2 on Gaz just as he's copying 5 attacks from the monsters, but they collectively draw 2 curses and the 2 wards from Sentry Swarm, and Daddy's shield 2 mean Gaz only takes a small amount of damage. It feels insane how tanky Gaz feels with a Pocket Priest. Daddy realizes he's 1 prayer away from completing his milestone, and then the focus turns to getting 1 last prayer out, which then becomes the 2 hard basket prayer, and it's abandoned for another day. Phil drops his orb into the altar and heads back to the fray as Daddy throws out a stun and models 2 harrowers before he too heads to the altar. Daddy loots the treasure chest, which results in a cursed blood blade, and drops his orb into the altar as Gaz announces he will drop his orb the following turn, signaling the final round of the scenario. Phil announces he's going to long rest, which is a very odd decision, seeing he's doing so within range of the remaining 4 monsters. Deddy, who's chilling by the altar with Gaz, is just trying to maximize XP, and Gaz drops his orb onto the objective. The only thing left to do is wait to see if Phil can achieve his battle goal. Now, something to remember and take note of. The previous round, the last monster to attack Gaz drew a null. So we're looking at a fresh amD, and only 2 curses for a deck of 22 cards. The first monster, a normal Hell Demon, attacks Phil with an attack 3 and top decks the null. The Harrower activates and are moving and doing an attack 4. The first one walks up the field and attacks, drawing a curse. The second Harrower takes the only other valid Hex, which then rules out the third from reaching Phil. So everything rides on this one Harrower to damage Phil with its final attack 4. And it draws a -1, making it an attack 3. But Phil had his persistent abilities up, which are mandatory in reducing incoming attack damage, and they save him from taking any at all, thus ending the scenario and fucking Phil over again. The moral of the story is long rest is busted. GG, well played.
That was a very good summary. Very good summary. I had forgotten a lot of the bits and pieces of it, so that worked. I've also worked out that your recaps are just a way of you throwing shade at people like myself when I can't respond. It's kind of like a high school debate where it's like you just get to go and nobody gets to say or do anything until you're finished.
Look, they won't
So
always be like that, but
no,
look,
no,
I think
that's
it was
fair.
completely fair this time because I was
That
having
was fair.
a rough turn because of you.
The wasn't my fault. You kept saying it was my fault that like you didn't calculate your range or that you went before me. Like I think I went at like a 20 or something like that, and you needed to go anyway.
It was slight embellishment.
Very very good recap, and yeah, that was the final highlights. I feel like it's interesting because you're talking there like then it was round 7, and then it was round 17. It's like because most of the stuff in between there, it's not boring, but it's just like game stuff, right? Like nothing really happening and going in. I did. It's funny, right? Like, there's a lot of talking points, but uh, chill, and I think we'll talk about this a bit later. But like, actually, it actually had an impact
Hmm.
in reducing people's movement by 1. I think that's like obviously had the impact on the math, and we'll talk about that. But like, that was the piece that I think it felt the most of
Hmm.
like, I got to plan around this
Hmm.
because now I move 1 less. And I gotta say,
Let
like that's really feels shit. Like,
let's let's talk about chill now.
okay,
As my first talking point because it was probably the thing that was frustrating the most, especially with a lot of attacks that I was doing whenever I would have it. It was, I think the main reason is because I kept pulling the crit on my attack 2s, which were actually attack 1s. And there was
okay.
also a situation where I was attacking with, I think, disadvantage, and the crit ended up being like worse
Oh, that's
because,
right. You had disadvantage and you pulled a +2 and the crit,
yeah, something like
and it's
that.
like it ended up being the crit was better, like better. No, the crit was worse. So you
Yeah.
did 2 damage and yeah,
There's
instead of
that,
3.
and then poison, and it got me thinking, man, this is like from an admin point of view, and also just from a head, thing point of view. I hate this condition because the movement thing, that's fine. You got to mobilize and all of that. Yeah, it's not so fun. It's fun to work around, but the damage part of it, where you actually have to factor that into your attacks, is kind of messed up. And then when I had a bit more of a level head about it, when I was writing the notes and I was thinking about it more, knowing that I was going to have this conversation with you, how much of it is because we are familiar with every other condition in the game? Poison's so easy to calculate because we've had to deal with it for so much. This is the second time we've had to deal with it. So if chill was something we would experience way more often, it'd be so much easier to track and know that it's there and factor that into the attacks. But at the moment, because it's not, that I think it's almost like challenge cards that were in Frosthaven when you have those one instance of a rule that you then have to track for the rest of that scenario that you're not used to tracking in general. And maybe I'm being unfair for chill.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to do with that. I mean, we forget muddle sometimes, right? Where someone does an attack, you're like, oh, yeah, I killed it. And you're like, you muddled. All right. I don't think we really forget maybe immobilize and disarm that
Hmm.
often when someone does that because you tend to happen and you know what's going on, but you do occasionally miss it. So I think, yeah, there's probably a good element to if we had played with this for I don't know, every other scenario for
Mm,
6 months, we'd probably be a lot more because we use Xhaven and everyone's looking at the turn. It would just be a little reminder of like someone, okay, Phil, it's your turn. Don't forget you chilled, right? And then you'd remember all those things. But yeah, I think because it's a number thing, like poison's the only one that really affects your attack that you've got to remember to add numbers on, right?
mm,
Like, I mean, I know you've got ward and stuff like that that halve, and you've got like brittle that doubles and stuff, but like the adding one is easy, but the chill thing to reduce it just seemed to be hard to remember.
mm.
Um, so, and I don't think that's I think maybe it's partially because it's just numbers, but it's also because we're just not used to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it just became a little on the messy side when you're sitting there and going, okay, cool, I attack this, or you're being attacked, right? I guess it's the kind of same thing when you're dealing with shield and you're dealing with ward and you're dealing with all of those kind of things that sometimes I saw it when I was editing our playthrough, and you can hear us having our conversations, which I don't really notice in the moment, but it's more from an outsider point of view. And I'm sitting there, it's like I attack two, but then it's three, but then it's four, but then it's actually two because of the shield. But then and there's a lot of that going on, and I'm wondering actually if that's a really common occurrence in a lot of groups, or whether or not you've got like one mathematician, Ricewind, in there who's done the math already for nearly every single attack and just insta calculates it. Because yeah, it can take a fair bit, and I think just because chill was adding to that equation, kind of yeah, it just felt like it was just a hindrance, which makes sense. It's a negative condition, but like it shouldn't be
It's like
mentally.
yeah, negative condition to the players and their fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I quite like it. I as an idea and a concept, I like it, and I'm really glad we saw more of it in this scenario. I thought that those chill rooms were awesome. That was a
Yes.
great way of making sure that it was there, but it didn't become overwhelming, right? And especially because it meant that it enabled the monsters that really wanted you to have chills to be able to the chill to be able to do their special abilities. But from an admin perspective, yeah, it does start to get a bit much, especially when you think about, say, hail demons that have shield, right? And I know this isn't complicated math, but you go, okay, I think you gave the example. I do an attack three. I draw a -1, right? But they're poisoned, so it's +1. But they're chilled, so it's -1. Oh, but they've got shields, so it's -2, right? Like it's not hard when you say it like that, but when you kind of keep like going through that kind of process for an attack or multiple attacks, it does add up. And I mean that's the worst case scenario, I feel. Um, and if they're not poisoned or they don't have shields, then suddenly it becomes a lot easier. But yeah, it does just get a little bit numbersy, which I think stands out because I don't think Frosthaven or Gloomhaven do. I feel like they do quite a good job of like not being super number crunchy. Like it's all
Mm,
just there in front of you. It's like, oh, I attack four and I draw a card, and then usually that's the number, right? There isn't usually much like, oh, but if. Poison's the exception and shield's the other way. Like poison and shield are the two main ones. Brittle and Ward came in Frosthaven, so Gloomhaven never had those. It was really only the only way to change your number outside of once you've drawn, right? Was poison goes
mm.
up, down. Um, and
And
that
shields.
keeps it very simple,
Yeah.
right? But I think with these additions and stuff like it does just start to bring some more numbers in, which is it just probably feels a bit weird.
But ultimately, also, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you want there to be more variance in their approach to the combat as a general mechanic. You don't want it to be too dry. So all of these different conditions and all of these different, number alter things that alter the actual number. You want that because it creates that depth in the mechanic in the combat system. But yeah, it's just sometimes like this is where the video games sometimes have the edge because it automatically calculates all that. It's already
Yeah.
doing the dice rolls. It's already doing everything for you.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think that that's why I like it because I think that it does a good job. It's a sometimes condition. It's kind of interplays with a few other bits and pieces, and I think it works well. It just does add. It's just like saying like this is fine. It just adds a little bit more fatigue onto the thing, especially maybe it's worse towards the end of a scenario, right?
Mm.
When you've already gone through it. So that's the whole thing. I don't think that's not a bad thing, and I don't think it's badly designed. In actual fact, I think it's the other way. But yeah, it is weird.
Yeah. Okay.
The only other thing about though the design is that moving and I've been vocal about this before. I feel
No
like the
way.
moving part yeah, the moving part of Gloomhaven Frosthaven when it's not tactical, it's just like I need to get from point A over to this far end point B is boring. Chill makes that worse because you move slower. And making like I don't know, it's weird. Being immobilized seems sucks, but it's like well, bad luck. You kind of either got bad RNG or made bad decisions. For some reason, having chill and having -1 to your move, and it didn't really impact me. I think it was mostly it cut you on one of the turns to get a prayer out, and Phil one of his turns to get in and do a bunch of damage. But it just felt like it was bad. Like, hey, have just -1 move.
It's a
And
negative condition. It is bad.
yeah, but like not like having poison or wound or disarm or immobilize, all of those ones don't make it feel less fun.
Mm.
I mean, we're going to talk about the conditions later on, and we'll talk about stun and why that feels less fun, right? But this one, I don't know. I don't know why in that one moment I was just like, ugh, -1 move. That's kind of just that's not cool,
Yeah, no,
right?
I know what you mean. I think if it was a pick up and deliver, which actually this scenario was, okay, never mind. Like because of the times that the chill were affecting us, it was during combat, and if it messes up turns and it makes you have to recalculate your movement for positioning from a tactical point of view, I like that because
Mm.
it's a negative thing, but it's also making you go, well, what else can I do in my current situation? Immobilize, at least it removes that. If you get immobilized, you're kind of like, cool, I don't have to worry about movement or have to work out where I'm going to be. I just now have to brace for what's about to come. But
Yep.
I didn't mind the lack of movement from what it was doing. I also don't mind the minus to your attack either. Like I think it's fine when I'm talking about it like now, like out there. It's just I think it's sometimes just an additional thing that you have to add to the equation is the part that's the hard bit.
Yeah. Yeah, the -1 attack is fine, and I think it's a good way of reducing things. It just adds a bit of more calculations. The -1 move just feels weird because I think that the tactical movement is very tight as it is.
Mm.
A lot of characters don't have a lot of movement, right? And if you do have a high amount of movement, that's usually unique, right? If you go, this character has great maneuverability, it can position itself really well. That's usually like it's outside of the norm. Right. A lot of characters kind of move around, have a move 2, have a move 3, maybe a move 4 if you want to go really far, but usually you kind of do it using so -1 to that just kind of makes it really tricky. And unfortunately, I think it kind of falls into that if you're gonna kind of reduce that a bit, then it becomes people can't use most of their cards. So therefore that kind of I don't know. I think I'm being too harsh on it. But
No,
it definitely I think starts to go down that way. All right. Um
because
but
I
in saying
suppose,
that, if you have 2 or 3 chill and you can't move at all, then that's basically immobilized, and now I think that's fine. So my argument makes no sense,
but
and
then
I'm
you
really
can't
just
attack because you're doing -3 attack as well,
that's
right? So
true, that's
what
true.
are you
So,
doing?
I don't know, yeah. Anyway, overall, I like chill, and I like the fact that we got to see it in this scenario, and I think that it impacted us a little bit, and made it slightly harder, and I think that was cool.
Yeah.
That's probably where I land on it.
I like the fact that also that once it started, this was the first time we had this. It was very impossible for us to become chill. We had to go out of our way to hit something
Yeah.
that had retaliate, and if you hit it, it chills you. Things like that. The fact that it was buffing the cadavers in this, they were getting +2 on some of their things, and they were doing pure damage. And when you have a pack of them doing that, because when I saw them pull that ability card, I was like, oh, 1 damage. Oh, okay, I guess that's okay. But there were two, and the minute that happened, I was like, oh, that's a bit spicy because if there's more of them, that would have sucked a lot. And then of course if it's stacking up, now the scenario's obviously solved that by allowing you to burn a top or a bottom ability to clear it all completely. But then
Mm.
that goes against. It's almost like being stunned. It's almost like you're spending an action to do
Mm.
nothing, right? So
Yeah.
that kind of reinforces your argument of that's not fun. If I have to remove my attack top to remove all the stacks of it on the bottom to then be able to move the full distance, but then not do anything with the top, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. I feel like at least you get the agency to make that call, right?
Mm,
Like, do you push your luck and go like, you know what, YOLO, I'm gonna go in there and hope they draw badly,
yeah.
or I can pop a defensive item or something like that and try to push through so I can get this extra damage and I don't mind being chilled. But yeah, you're right. And I think the other one, there was a point where I moved in and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go there, and there was like 2 or 3 of the cadavers that were doing an attack for, but it's +2 if you're chilled. I'm like. I don't really want to take +2. Like that's gonna start hitting me hard. So I think I did go in. That might be that middle room actually. I think where went in on my long rest and you gave me shields and I had all my other shields and it was just dumb. So I think in the end it wasn't a problem. But then I had a shitload of defensive stuff off, right?
Yeah.
Like one half damage and two wards plus a bunch of items plus two shields from you. So like that's why it was fine. But like that felt scary. That
Mm.
two attack sixes feels way worse than two attack fours. Just purely from a fact that a crit just starts making that look really bad. And even with a good amount of health, it's still like I'm potentially taking, what, 12 to 15 damage in this hit, if not more.
Well, the
Like
other thing is also that we did this in scenario level 4, which is when the elite cadavers had poison in A. We didn't have that the last time we did this. So that
that's
also
right.
adds to that fear factor, right?
That's yeah, 100%.
So when you get a
Yeah,
tip
that's
for a two
right.
attack sixes, one of them is applying the poison on you.
Yeah, that. I think that might have been what it was. It was like, yeah, go in and take 6, and then go in and take 7, and then they get to just draw cards still. So yeah, it's cool. That's cool.
Um, jump into thoughts. We'll have a discussion about the actual scenario itself. What were your thoughts on scenario 24? Iri Grotto.
Um, Look, I really liked it, and I think that they did a good job of introducing the chill stuff to be relevant. Um, and I thought that the pick up the thing halfway through and deliver it at the end, and if you die once you've got it, is cool as well.
Mm.
The fact that there's options for which one you want to pick up is kind of cool as well.
That's one of the things I liked. The fact that because you could put that into your build almost. You can almost like factor which one you wanted to give yourself a boost in some
Mm,
area, which I thought was really cool.
yeah. The monster types are kind of cool because you've got like the big zombies that are like to throw if you're throwing big attacks, you can throw big attacks into them. You've got some use for pierce and pure damage. You've got the harrower things that are just always generally I have no idea what they're going to do, but I'm always scared of them.
Oh, and that combination
Um,
of monsters is also making wind and frost, which we can like completely take advantage of because we've had, maybe not now, but the first few characters we had can completely take advantage. Oh wait, no, where are they?
yep, that's it. So yeah, overall, no, I really liked it. I thought it was really good. And if I'm comparing it to the other ice one we did, where we didn't even know that chill was in the game, other than when we stood on a chill trap, this was so much more interesting and more entertaining.
Yeah, even from a rules kind of point of view, because of those rooms where you're kind of
Mm.
forced to take it unless you strategically stand next to the hot coals. So yeah, no, I agree. How much of
The
this, and
only question,
I do mention this. Oh, sorry, what?
oh, I was gonna say the only question I have though is why was that harrower all the way back there in the first room?
I'm trying to think whether or not it was mentioned in the introduction, but you walk past the harrower who's guarding a boulder, and he just says, "Stay away," and you're like, "Okay,
Yeah,
okay."
like it's so weird. It's like I feel like we missed something because okay, so for those who haven't seen it, it's basically like you start in a small room, right? And there are two of the zombie things in the room with you, right? And then there's a door behind the two zombie things, which is the way you have to go. And then there's this like long corridor, like all kind of well, it's probably a short corridor with a harrow at the end of it. And I kind of get the idea that like if it starts there, then it's probably at least two turns before it gets to you. So you kind of incentivized to burn through the zombies quickly rather than just like sit there and take your time. But at the same point, like there's also a boulder next to him, which it makes no sense. Like did they do the scenario first and put him there and we're like, shit, you know what? People are abusing the fact that there's empty space next to this harrower, right? At the end of this corridor, we've got to put a boulder there.
It is bizarre. Unless the only thing I can think of is I don't know. There's a vortex, and they're like, look, if they've got someone that can actually blow up the actual thing, it gives them a slight edge to dealing with this. But that's so niche. So
Yeah,
and I know for a fact that if Summers designed this, there would have been a secret passage under that boulder, right? If you go
correct.
near it, and that would have led us into the final scenario of Frosthaven. So
That's it. That's it. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, true. Actually, it's probably the put it there so someone can use it thing. Yeah, good call.
I mean, look, I agree with you, but there have also been scenarios where I've been looking for any boulders or anything to be in a decent spot, and there never is any. When I'm playing characters that actually give a shit about that, so
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, that's all. That's
I
all.
I
And oh,
I, I really enjoyed this.
yeah.
I think this was really good. I think if it was any other pick up and deliver like the poisoned well one that we had to cure the water thing, that's just a straight up murder everything, but also deliver the water to the thing. I like the fact that there were unique buffs tied to the items that we had to deliver, and thematically it was bringing things together. These orbs were all corrupting and what do you call it, seducing us and making us want to pick them up, the globes. And I like the fact that that when I read all of them out, it was kind of like immediately my head was like, oh, who wants what and who can really utilize what. I really enjoyed that unique aspect to it. And the monsters were fine, the special rules were fine, and it got tense towards the end. I'm glad it wasn't a kill all. I find that when they aren't kill alls, they can stretch them out and make them more fatiguing. And it becomes a bit more of a war of attrition, and we can no longer be reckless and blow everything up and go all murder hobo on them because we can't afford to. And that last room, if we didn't all have the tools to get past them, I think could have been spicy. And
Yeah,
no,
100%.
I loved and appreciated that. So yeah, big
Yeah, I
fan.
think the other good thing about like the other side of non-kill alls you get is ones that have like real uh objectives you can just like dive, right? Like we found that in the one we did last week where
Mm,
you have to go get the boxes and it's like you go, it's not kill alls, like that's cool. But that means we can just like have you got jump? But then you can just win, right? So you're right. This one didn't feel like that because we still like there was enough going on there that we need to get these orbs across. But if we die, well, we got the orbs and it's bad, right?
mm,
So it's like this extra little kind of like, well, you still kind of got to be careful. Like you can't be reckless because we need to get 3 orbs. Um,
yeah.
Actually, interestingly enough, that means someone else could go back, right? Like if someone died before they got an orb, because you only need to get 3 orbs, and it says any character may go pick one up. So I assume you'd be able to go back.
It's a really good point. I can't remember whether or not there was a special rule in there of every character can only hold one, but they could be just hold one, right? At any given time, not, can return one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, no, but not, that was never
No, we're
going to
not doing
happen.
that. Yeah, but no, no, no. It was for that reason. But the other thing I thought that was good, and it's it's weird. It's like a positive that wasn't a negative. Is that when you pick the orbs up, you didn't get some negative effect. Like
Mm,
right, like that seems to be the way that they do it. It's either nothing or it's bad, right? But this was just purely good. Like it didn't spawn more monsters. It didn't. It made it harder because it gave you a lose objective, which I think is cool. It's like, hey, now you can lose if you die.
yeah.
But it didn't say negative to some of your stats or you can't stand next to other people or something like that. Which it could have. It could have done that instead and said like, now get them to the end, but like your character's worse.
Mm,
And then it just feels less fun getting to the end rather than more of a puzzle. So I think that's a good design to see that and kind of go like, hey, it's gonna feel good picking these things up, but a little dangerous.
yeah, okay. No, it's good. It's a good way of thinking about that. What I wanted to ask is also the difficulty. We've now done 2 at +1. This wasn't like it was difficult. It felt difficult, and I think that that's showing in our planning stages and being like I'm planning if I'm going to get hit and by what and how much, is that going to be a problem? And things are a lot scarier now, and we're taking our time with making sure that we're, what I can't remember the term for it, but the agency of making sure that we don't get absolutely one shot. Are you enjoying that, and do you think that we're in that sweet spot now, or is it +2 time?
No, I am enjoying it. I think it's making it making the decisions matter more, which I think is always really important. It's not making it harder to make decisions. It means the decisions we make have more of an impact, which I think is always positive.
I think that's
I
why I was having a meltdown at the start, because when I was having all of these dead turns, I was like, we're doing +1, right?
mm.
With ice cream on the line. Like, how I'm letting us down. Like, and by round 7, it's like, oh, I'm still not really helping. And,
No, you're doing fine. You're doing
okay.
fine. You did, but that's what I mean. That's where your decisions were fine, right? But you were just getting bad luck. I mean, yeah, the range thing is your fault, but that's fine. That's just your new character. But yeah, like that's just a mistake,
Mm.
which is fine. The other thing with the difficulty though is I wonder what happens when we go back to 4 people.
Well, we're going to find out.
We are gonna find out.
Because and I'm also wondering what happens when I don't have a big, strong beetle next to me moving forward as
Well, I
well.
should be around
Eventually,
for a little bit. I should be around for a little bit.
yeah, no, but eventually, by that stage, I'll have 10 health, so I should be okay.
That's it. You can be the tank. So
Or me.
I think he's fine as long as we deal with that harrower.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. I think he's fine until the last room.
Yes, because we avoided all the monsters.
Yes.
Yep. Yep, definitely, definitely. The only thing that would be a bit of a problem would be in that second room that we got to, it got a bit clogged and we kind of stood there and fought the monsters for a bit, where he would just YOLO through all the the hazardous terrain and kill himself.
Mm.
Because the fire things which helped us not get chill would be the only way. And he'd be like, don't worry, guys, there's this path through this fire.
Mm. Yeah, I can
So,
see
yeah.
that. Yeah, okay. And the diaries. So I've got a couple of new things. Leaf, this is my second scenario, so I've got a couple of new tidbits that I'm finding with my Leaf experience. Getting familiar with range. That is something that am learning, and I think that's I haven't really had to deal with range on a lot of characters except for the vortex, right? It's mostly movement, and sorry, with the bleeding claw, it's mostly movement, and with the vortex, it's movement, but also teleportation, which is part of the movement, and trying to work out if I could actually get to stuff. Now I actually have to factor in range, and that little range number sometimes is really small, and it's under the it's under the bow symbol, which is the universal range symbol, and
Numbers
it's
are
hard to
hard,
read. They
Daddy.
are.
They are.
But by the end of the scenario, I felt like I was having a bit more impact. I felt like the shielding was really good, etc., and I'm enjoying that facet of it. But the challenges I'm having with it at the moment, that are my self challenges, are the elements at the moment. In that it's mostly light, and I went into that scenario with only I think one light generator that wasn't a burn. And this is that puzzle. It's that I want to take the cards that give me the fun opportunity. It's like an opportunity cost thing. It's like the puzzle of trying to get the prayers out. It's the puzzle of trying to get the elements out, which usually is what I need to get the prayers out. It's having a couple of heals in there and a couple of the attacks. The other things, the attacks that need to kill something in order to get something, provided there's something next to something. Like, it's all of that I'm enjoying. I'm really enjoying. And I think this is taking me at the beginning of every scenario to the oohing and ahhing over every single card. Like, I will say right now as a whole, Crimson Scales has got me deck building more so than I ever have in Frosthaven. Quite easily. At the beginning of every scenario on all three of these characters, I'm agonizing over which cards to bring and leave. And then I'm going into the scenario knowing, like, towards the latter part of the characters, what my shortcomings are because I didn't bring certain cards. And I'm loving that. The stress that gives me, I love, because it just makes me feel like the decisions are impactful. And when that card has its moment to shine in any given scenario, it was the right choice. And when I don't bring a card that I could have used, it's a lesson for future scenarios. Which is,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. The prayers tricky. So I've already got 4 that I've looked at. There's another burn one in there or whatever. But this is also for you and for Phil and for Mark as a reminder of how these kind of work, right? Healing at half health or below. It's a bit of a hard threshold, especially when people can, burst themselves back up fairly quickly. And it's double-edged sword with that one because I don't want to have to try and constantly use that one to get prayers out to you guys, because that usually means that, you guys are dying, especially when you've got so much health. Single person in range 2, really difficult to get. So that's the shield, AoE shield. But if it's only one person, I can give them a thing. The light up for the jump, that's my most reliable one, provided I can get light up. And only having one card that was generating light was a bit of an issue, especially when someone eats the light and changes it into something else. Thankfully, I had a mana pot, right? And then the last one was killing something at range 2, which is really difficult to do when you keep drawing a null. So they're the 4 staple ways of me getting the prayers out for now. I'm very much looking forward to getting my milestone card, which we'll get hopefully next session, provided I can complete one of those 4 objectives at some stage during the next scenario. And hopefully it's another way of getting more consistent prayers out. But at the same time, I'm glad that they're difficult to get out. I really am, because I think that they are very good.
Yeah, I think I like that because I think that the character that in Gloomhaven that has a similar mechanic is just like has a card that says just give one to the person next to you.
Yeah.
Right? Which is fine because it's a fun thing and it was then, but this is kind of cool that there's, some kind of strategy to it. So
Yep. Yep. So no, the puzzles and everything's really good. I'm really loving it. Like I'm absolutely loving the Leaf right now. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to the next level up and the milestone card and see where it keeps going.
yeah. Yeah, cool. No, it does. It looks like you're having some fun with it, which is good. It looks like it's pushing you from an outside perspective, like you're
Totally.
having to think about your turns, and I know that you booked a few turns, but it does look like you're doing interesting things as well, even though it might not feel like that when it results in it, but it does feel like you're impacting the scenario. So yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
I mean, is there
Beetle?
anything with you? You haven't got anything
Um,
new
I'll
yet?
just I'll start on like not really. I will start on the to just kind of my experience with the deck building side. What you were talking about with
Mm.
like Crimson Scales. I've probably felt the same for the most part. Like I do, like picking my cards. I go through my pile and I go through and I put them into three piles. Yes, no, and maybe. Right. So I just throw down all the cards that are yes, and then I go, cool. That's sorted. I'm taking those. And then all the ones that no, I just put them to the side. I'm like, cool. I don't care about those for this scenario. And then I have a look through the maybes, and then I work out how many have I got. If I've managed to just end up with 11 between my yeses and my maybes, cool. It's easy done. But if not, which it's usually the case, I end up with a few more. I've got to work out what not to bring. I'd say that if I was comparing that, and this is only anecdotally because I can't really remember 100%, but I feel like I've had less cards that automatically go in my yes pile from the characters so far that I've played in Crimson Scales than I reckon I did with most of my Frosthaven characters. I
Yeah.
think if I had 11 cards in the Frosthaven character, it was usually 8 or 9 of them were these are the cards I'm taking, and then there'd be one or two flex, right?
Mm.
Depending on the scenario or if I do or don't need that. I think some of the characters I barely changed anything, right? Because there was no need to. And then
Mm.
that might have also been inexperience. Maybe it was a little bit more tied to it. But definitely I felt with the playing the Galaxy, it was usually, I don't know, 3 or 4 of my cards, if not more. I was picking and choosing between and swapping in and out. And I've done it a lot with Beetle. That's because I'm useless and don't know what I'm doing. But also, like, I got to figure out what I'm trying to achieve. So yeah, I think that has made a difference.
Yeah. The most recent
Uh,
scenario, that one we were prepping for, I did the loop, the card loop. So I had 12 cards in front of me, and I was just like, okay, cool. I need that. I need that because that's going to trigger that. I need that. I need that. I need that. And then I got to the end of it, and I was like, oh, I only have one light generator. And I went through my, the others, and I'm like, no, 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 no. Let me just cull this down first. I need to get this to 11. All right, no, I can definitely get rid of something. All right, do I need that? I need that. Oh, do I? No, no, I do need that. Okay, cool. I do. And by the time I get to the end of it, I'm like, no, there has to be something here. And I keep going
yeah.
through because there's so many cards. I'm like, let me reevaluate them all again, which, yeah, it's just this endless loop. And that's
Hmm.
so difficult.
Which I think is, if we look at and this is a bigger topic for conversation another time, but even the evolution from Gloomhaven, which I feel like a lot of that wasn't that, right?
Mm,
Yes, you had choices, but the cards were just generally better because the characters were simpler, right? It's that the whole
power
game
creep.
was, you know, so I feel like that bringing that deck building and choice aspect into the game, and to be fair, Frosthaven did it quite a lot as well, but is a really, really important part because it actually means that you're not just leveling up to get more powerful, you're leveling up and you're getting more options,
Mm,
right? And it means when we do our unboxings and we look at the first, 15 cards or whatever, you're not just going like, oh, well, these are the best 10 or 11 cards, right? And then pick one or two from these,
mm,
so. Um, but Beetle, yeah. Look, the only thing I'm finding is I'm trying to do the use. I've got that card there. If I can blow up 2 colonies, I can bane something.
mm.
I feel like it's a trap. But I'm like just barreling into it. I'm just like,
It's
hey,
really,
I know this is a
it's
trap and it's a
doing work.
stupid thing. Pardon?
It's doing work.
Yes and no, because the thing is, like, if you break it down, right, like to get a colony out, it only really works if I can cheat a colony out, right? Because the
Which
problem is
AMD's
it
been
takes
doing that.
It has been, yeah, because so this is where this has kind of had to flip around a little bit. The last scenario we did, the only reason I got the extra colony out is because I was using my deck for the Bright Spark, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I got that out. This time I actually took a couple of attack cards and thought like, you know what, I'm going to start and actually try to use my MD a bit because it's getting quite good. Like I've got enough perks now where like most of my bad cards are gone. So I was like, okay, so if I can cheat it out that way and get a free one, then it doesn't feel as bad. But the realistic, if you look at it, I have to play a top action one turn to get a colony out, a top action the next turn to get a colony out, and then a top action the third turn to blow up both of those colonies and put bait on something. But the something needs to be next to one of those colonies, right? So it's like it's tricky. And then the good thing is then it starts rolling in because it puts a token on it. So when the thing dies, not from Bane, but just in general when it dies, I get to plonk a colony out. So then I'm only two actions away from baning something, like placing another one and then a bane. So it's like tricky because I think it's the right amount of hoops, but it's an annoying amount of hoops. Like three top actions to bane something is kind of shit. The thing is that most of my top actions don't really do anything, so it's not that bad.
It's
Um,
not. But it's guaranteed damage as well that you're getting out there that's not requiring an AMD flip.
Yeah, totally, totally, and that's the thing, right? I'm looking and going, and I think being on the harder difficulty and the monster types in the last couple of scenarios have made it worthwhile. If we were fighting a bunch of vermlings and snakes and I don't know whatever things that have 8 health, that are going to die in one or two hits, it feels a lot worse
Mm,
throwing Bane out on those things, right? But Baning, I think one of last week it was a light elemental, or what are they called?
Sun Demon.
Sun Demon, that's it. And this week it was on one of the cadavers or the
Harrower.
harrower, yeah, stuff like that. I think makes a difference. Like
Yeah.
when you go like, oh, okay, I got the full 10 damage through, and especially when it's got shields or retaliate and it's like an annoying monster, that feels good. So yeah, it's probably is a thing, but it's just the card doesn't. Unfortunately, the card doesn't do anything if I don't do that. Because the top is blow two up and bane something. The bottom is a permanent persistent where it's like whenever you kill something, heal three. Which is great, but I don't want to do that. Like, so it's not even like I can spam the other side of the card. It's literally useless
It's a move
if
too.
I don't have two colonies up. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit tricky. And that's the I'm finding the only annoying thing at the moment.
Well,
So
the other really, really pivotal thing that I keep forgetting is that you're relying all of those hoops. You're relying on the colonies, which also are squishy as hell, and you don't, one wrong move or the bright spike going, "Hey, I'll come help you" or something, because you're putting basically traps on the ground that none of us want to step into, and we don't want like the heal traps. We don't want them to step into it either, just to set up your thing. So yeah, very difficult,
yeah.
but you are making it work. But if I saw that on paper as this is a character and this is the best way of using it, I'd be like, no.
No, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's what I mean. This has to be a sub thing. So it's more like I think the way I'm playing it and trying to figure it out is I'm throwing out a couple of colonies because I am trying to go the colonies build, but I'm throwing out ones that are healing, doing crits, like giving people shields, stuff like that. And then when I get a chance, I'm throwing one out because I can. When I play them, they can be placed up to two away from me. So that means I can actually get some range on it, and I'm trying to work in a way where I can throw it out and then go really early the next turn and just blow it up.
Mm,
So it's like kind of throwing the colonies out, and then when I get a chance, I'm using this card to throw the Bane out. It's just annoying that it doesn't really do anything if I'm not doing that, right? Like my first two or three turns where I'm probably not using it, it's just sitting there and it's a move two or attack two.
mate,
Um,
big respect and big love, and I'm almost certain like listeners and viewers would agree that you have gone the colony route on a character that you could have easily gone the retaliate route. And I think that's made for more entertainment, and I think it's definitely made for more discussion, and I think it's definitely the more interesting thing to be doing, right?
yeah, well, I think I played the retaliate route a bit, but it's just dropped off. Like I think that it's especially as we buff up the difficulty and things get
Totally.
harder, it just means a little bit less. But yeah, it's been a fun little thing, like kind of halfway through the character to kind of swerve into this thing, to go like, how can I make use of this? And yeah, there are a couple other cards that I could probably be using to try and make use of it a bit more as well. So yeah, I think I'll just keep playing around with that.
Yeah. It's weird being the colony build and you're only using three different types of colonies. It's a weird choice, guys, but
I mean, yeah, because spiders don't exist, right? I mean, technically, I can put spider colonies out with my when I flip my AMD. They just don't do anything.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump to conditions. So this is obviously inspired heavily by the chill discussion we had earlier, and we'll probably cover chill at a future date because it's already been done, so we don't actually need to unless between now and then we have a few more scenarios with it in there and it becomes either god awful or god tier negative condition.
God tier negative. Well, that sounds bad. But look, I think there is we deliberately didn't. I think the reason why we ended up on this scenario is because the other chill scenario was, I think, a boss scenario, a mini boss. And I was like, no, 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 we'll wait till we've got the four of us to do that. Oh, here's another one with chill, not realizing it was just the other path. But so I think maybe this week we might do another one with chill and we might have
Mm,
a reason to talk about chill and why we hate it so much.
mm. No, I love it. So we'll start off with the Gloomhaven ones. I don't know if you remember Gloomhaven, it was a long time ago, but they had this condition in there called wound, right? It's a negative condition, so you can have it and the enemy can have it. And it's suffering one damage at the start of each turn, right? So since, that's the rules, how it kind of works. What are your thoughts on wound as a whole? Is it good for the game? Is it bad for the game? Is it a good mechanical condition?
Yeah, I think it's good for the game, and the only negative is that it adds slightly more admin. Like it's a thing you need to remember. Anytime that you need to remember, like it adds to the load, right? Like very basic. Every if there's no conditions at all,
Hmm.
everyone plays their cards and they do their thing. The monsters do their actions that you flip over from the cards, and then everyone goes about their business. That's it. Wound is one now that interrupts that. At the start of your turn, you need to remember that either you have it or they have it,
Hmm.
right? That's made heaps easier by the fact that we're using Xhaven. We have a giant monitor in front of us and it wiggles when you have your turn,
No, and
right?
Secretariat actually does it for you. Like at the beginning of the turn, remember it used to trigger it, and everyone would take
That's right.
the damage as an optional thing. So yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of is the technology makes the thing that the technology makes the inclusion of wound less bad, right? Like, it kind of takes away most of that burden, which is good, which is great because it means wound can just be in the game and be really useful for what it's trying to do. So yeah, I think it's good.
Did we have a chat about this a while back? And I can't remember why, but I think we were talking about the amount of things that, like, what was maybe it was part of the quiz actually. I think the most common negative condition is wound on a lot of monsters. I think it might have been when Colleague did his quiz for us back when, and it got me thinking because it's one of the originals, but also it's one of the most common ones, but it's not as difficult as poison, which we'll obviously get onto later in terms of removal. But therefore, because it's obviously getting reapplied all the time, and you've got so many different monsters that have rest cards also, so it's not this fail safe that you can keep falling back on. Like I'm
Mm.
thinking of High Shield. I think Living Spirits probably have a way of oh god, now I'm being tested. Do they have a
Of
way of
getting rid of
healing?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. So like the monsters that might be susceptible to wound because they have low HP and high shield, right, have a way of getting rid of it off
they all
themselves.
seem to, right? It's not like a set
Yeah.
and forget completely foolproof kind of thing. And I've also played a
Mm.
character, the Vortex, that didn't have a lot of ways of removing it itself, bar dealing with items. Where if I had three, what are they called? Tide Pods.
Tide pods.
Yeah, the actual name, Tide Pods. When I had three of them and I had a wound on me, do you remember how many times that was just ticking?
Yeah,
Right.
totally. Like it was really lucky that I was playing the Galaxy where I actually had the ability to heal people because like at least if I hadn't, if I was on the Beetle, although the Beetle has a good healing as well, there's a way in the world in which your character just really can't get rid of wound.
Mm,
Like the Void guy. What's he
the
called
Void Guy.
again?
Vortex. Washing
Vortex, that's
machine.
it. Yeah. Yeah, washing machine, yeah.
I
Um,
was gonna add. What are your thoughts on? Do you think that you know how with poison, when you heal, it ignores the heal and it just removes it? What happens if would wound become disgusting then? Because it would
if wound
happen
worked
both.
as
It would happen both ways. Monsters as well.
if wound blocked heals.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, especially with how much around it is. There's probably a world where the you could make it, and I think this maybe just adds more admin. It becomes more annoying, but from a game wise, maybe that it requires one tick of the heal to remove it. So like. if you heal for 3, the
Got
first
you.
heal goes to getting rid of the wound, and then the other 2 go through, right? Rather than just like all 3 go through and you remove it.
Mm.
Um, I feel like that would make sense without it really being game breaking, and I'm sure the game would adapt around it. But like that just adds an extra element of admin that you probably don't really need to matter because it's not going to matter one way. It's probably not going to matter the other way either. So,
Yeah, okay. And is there a character in the game that utilizes wound the best?
well, what was your bleeding guy?
Well,
Did he
was it
like
really
wounding
using it
people?
the best? Is there
I
anyone
don't
that
know.
gets bonuses? Oh god, the bleeding guy does. I was gonna say
Yeah.
no, that's a rupture thing, Gaz, and then I was like, oh no, wait, there was definitely a
Yeah.
wound thing. Okay, bleeding claw.
Piranha pigs.
Yeah, like the is there a wound centric hero from Gloomhaven?
I can't remember.
Yeah, okay.
I
No,
don't
I
think
wasn't too
so.
sure.
Nothing like out of all of the characters I remember out of any of the Haven games, and it might be because it's the most recent, but the Bleeding Claw seems like the one that was most like, hey, I'm going to wound people,
Which
right?
is weird, right?
Um,
Because
yeah,
it's a custom character, and they're like, hey, you know what? We haven't played around yet, where the character is built around this
mm.
condition.
But there might be people who know the Gloomhaven characters a lot more intimately than me are probably like, no, this character kind of has as a wound type build. So I'm sure that they are. What's interesting with wound though is that I feel like and maybe this goes into that. I don't feel like there's any of the characters I've seen that are really want to rely on it. Wound always seems to be just an extra thing that your attack does. Like, I don't know if it's Phil's or your triangle. One of the two would do like a ever blah blah blah, and then and they all get wound, right? Like it was like an added effect. Or you have these ones that do like an AOE wound everything around you, but they
Hmm.
always seem really like I don't want to burn a card to wound like 3 people. Um, and then I just through a couple of the characters through Frosthaven, I feel like they had cards that were like move 2, move 3, and then wound an adjacent enemy, right? Like,
Hmm.
and that was your thing. It's like you get to move and wound, and they always felt real bad. Like, I don't want that. I don't know. Just moving and throwing a wound on something. It sounds good when you say it. Like, oh, hey, wound is this good thing that
Well,
ticks away,
it's
but
guaranteed 1 damage, right? Guaranteed 1 pure damage.
yeah, but like, yeah, that's what I mean. It sounds good, but like, it just feels bad. I've never, so yeah, I feel like wound is just one of those things where if you say, okay, you've got an attack 3 with poison, you go, oh, that's a good attack. If you go, you've got an attack 3 with wound, I'll be like, it's fine.
But they're both 4 damage.
I know, but maybe it's because poison has the ability for it to be way more. Right? Wound is always only going to be at least at the maximum of 1 damage. It could be 0 if something heals it beforehand.
Hmm.
It's unlikely to be 0, but it's always like, but poison has unlimited possibilities. That could be unlimited damage, Daddy. If we attack this one monster 1 million times, we're going to do 1 million extra damage because of that one poison negative condition.
Just thinking that a character centered around wound being a blood kind of ritualistic drinker, vampire, whatever, right? In situations where if they have a big burn AoE wounds a bunch of stuff, which obviously it can be removed, but then a big AoE follow up, which is at +1, it's an attack 1 attack hitting everything +1 if it's got wound, or immobilize if it's got wound, or heal 1 teammate if they're wounded, add 2 to the heal, or just all of these different condition based things. It's like a chain reaction where the wound itself is the trigger and it generates a whole bunch of extra stuff.
Mm.
Why that? I guess that's a direction that yeah, I want to see that do that.
Look, I think once we're done with Crimson Scales and we can look, we've seen all the classes, or at least we've unboxed everything. It'd be interesting to know if there's not something out there because that sounds really cool, and I think that would be a fun thing to build around. I guess the only problem with having because wound is quite strong, regardless of what I'm saying about like, hey, it feels not great sometimes to just be like doing an attack with wound, but like again, you're right, it's pure damage, and pure damage like just goes through everything. It can solve a lot of your problems. If you have a character that just has like really good consistent access to wound all the time, that could be too strong,
Mm.
right? So I don't know. I mean it's got to be built around and balanced around that. But yeah, I think overall I think wound is good. It just doesn't feel good when you do it.
Yeah, okay,
So
fair
yeah,
enough.
it sucks when you get it on you though. Like
Oh, it's that choice, right? Luckily, it doesn't consume the thing, unlike the next condition we're
yeah,
about to cover here. But yes, it sucks when it's on you because you don't want to have to blow a pot for it, or This is where those little heal ones, which you normally look at now, and you're just like, that's a wound remover, that's a poison remover, right?
Correct, right? Yeah, yeah. The necklace. Like I feel like at
Yeah,
least 50% of my characters through Haven have had that necklace. And I'll even go as far as to say my Gloomhaven characters as well. I reckon that's been my go-to headpiece for like so many of my characters.
yeah. Well, it
Um,
coincides with poison. We can jump into a poison thing. Uh, and if it wasn't for wound and poison, that necklace would never be bought. Am I gonna assume that?
yeah, totally. Wound one
Yeah.
on a
Okay.
headpiece sucks. That's the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. Thoughts about poison? Do you think it's good for the game?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's cool that it's got two applications. One to increase damage, but two to block heals. Because there are some interesting points that you get to where a monster's going to heal, or do a big heal, do something, and you're like, oh, no, 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 it's got the poison, and it doesn't, and it blocks it. And it can be pretty game changing, right? A high shield monster that's healing itself that's tricky to deal with. I think that's a cool little sub benefit
Mm,
or kind of element of poison. And it's interesting because it's the only one that has something like that, right?
I think so.
Like everything else just does its one thing and then doesn't impact anything else.
No, no. It and wound are the two that also don't expire as well.
True.
But
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about poison?
I'm the thing about point wound and poison is that thematically I think they're the wrong way around. Because I don't, when I think poison of every game I've ever played ever, it's the health slowly going down, right? And wound makes
Mm.
me think, yeah, they've got a wound, but if you hit it, you'll do more damage, right? So that's the part that throws me off a little bit, is that why
Mm.
is poison providing extra damage?
It is interesting because you're 100% right. Like you play any RPG and you poison something, they're going to
Mm.
keep taking more damage.
Your little
It's
skull and crossbones symbol, the green
yeah,
one, when they
it's one
tick.
of the weird things in D&D. Like I maybe it's the fifth edition, but like fifth edition D&D, when you're poisoned, you get negative to your attacks or something like that. Like you get negative to your rolls. Like it's like a condition you have, but it doesn't mean the tick damage or take more damage thing.
Mm.
Which again, I feel like it feels really weird in the like kind of that space.
From a
Um,
um, from a character point of view as well, from just the characters we've seen, there seems to be way less ways of applying poison. Probably for the things that you mentioned. From in the character's hands, it's way stronger than maybe wound application. Is that fair to say
mm.
as an observation?
Yeah, I think the damage potential is way bigger. I think the thing with poison is that it's like the potential to make a monster like its ceiling is a lot higher, right? Like if you apply poison to something and then someone has a multi attack, right? Like a
Mm,
blink blade, for example, suddenly now they just get shredded.
mm,
You know, if poison was it can only trigger once per like round or action, so you couldn't trigger it multiple times, then I feel like it would be maybe more like it would be safer to let more characters apply it more often. But it can definitely add up. And if I go early, if we're all attacking something and I go early and you three have your turn, right? Well, now we just added 3 damage to everything,
mm.
which is huge, right? Like in the scope of um like the HP and the difficulty and all that kind of stuff. So
Do you like the fact that the poison blocks healing?
yeah, yeah, I do. I think it's really cool.
What if it
I
was like
wish
if
that
you had poison and wound, when you heal, you can only remove one?
I was gonna say that I actually feel like I would like it more, the idea more that if someone has poison and wound and you heal, it just gets rid of the poison. Like as in poison blocks healing
Mm.
and doesn't
Mm.
do anything else. Like, and in order to heal a wound or brittle, or
Mm.
bane,
The
right,
health,
the
the
three,
health has
you
to go up.
actually, yeah, your hit point have to go up. But again, I feel like that's just, I mean, that makes poison better, and it makes the other statuses worse if you have the ability to poison. So it'd be, yeah, kind of weird rebalancing thing. It'd just make the game harder,
Yeah. Okay. So is it
which is
fair?
fine. But
Is it fair to say that poison is the S tier over the wound?
I mean, yeah, maybe. I guess it depends, right? Because it's not doing anything if you don't hit them. Like, if you've got a character like mine that's probably more reactive, and I'm the one playing it's more reactive, and I'm not actually doing a lot of attacks. Well,
Mm.
poison's pretty much useless. Like I've
Mm.
got a card there at the bottom of it, basically does a cone poison everything, which Again, I
Oh.
can find ways to combo. Like if I do that, and then I also do burning stingers, then I can do 3 attacks, so I can hit
Mm.
3 things. And they're all gonna take an extra damage, and blah blah blah. Like there's ways of comboing it, but like if I don't do that and I don't bring any attack cards, well, it's helping everyone else. So I don't know. I'd say overall, poison is yeah, it's definitely S tier, and it's probably one of the better, more useful conditions you can apply just holistically to an enemy.
Yeah.
And it sucks having it on
I
you.
was
You
gonna
take
say, are you
so
more
much
scared
more
of it?
damage. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Way more scared. Yeah.
Especially when they're on swarming mobs, right? Vipers with their little attack ones, you know, and they're all in packs and they hit everyone adjacent or something like that.
Mm.
And I think I got booked by one because it was targeting two. It hit you, hit me, and then any follow up, you know, even if it's attack ones or attack twos, I think it was an attack one poison, then they pulled a +2, which all of a sudden becomes gross, right?
Yeah.
It becomes way scarier than getting wounded over and over again.
Well, that was kind of like black imps. That's why black imps are dangerous. And I remember there was one scenario in Gloomhaven that there's like some taps that you got to go turn off, and there's all these black imps coming out of the pipes. And what makes that last room so gross is that black imps like to do multi-target attack ones that poison you. So like hitting everybody for one, even 5 times in a round, and that's the end of the round, it's like a lot of damage going out spread out, but it's not that bad. But when they're all attack twos now, right, suddenly the AMD comes into play and you're getting hit like multiple times for
Hmm.
3 on an attack one, like that's where that starts getting real gross.
Hmm.
So yeah, I especially playing a character at the moment that's trying to get hit. Like I'm trying to go into places, and even if I'm not retaliating, it's more just to draw the fire away from other people. If I'm poisoned, I'm trying to get rid of it because it just has the capacity just to, you know, kind of go so high.
Yeah,
So
cascade. Yeah, okay. I think we'll leave it at those three conditions. They are just universally are probably the most popular conditions of the game. It's a weird thing to say. Like they're ones
mm,
that everyone knows. They're the ones that everyone's usually afraid of. In fact, if it was up to me, Isaac, and I got to redesign one of them, I would change wound slightly, only for the players, right? Not for the enemy, because then that's just stupid. But for the players, you know, if you start your turn with a wound on you, you take a damage. If you start the following turn with a wound on you, you take 2 damage. And if you start for every round it stays on you, it ramps up because it's a bleeding wound. And I think that
mm,
would make it a lot scarier and a lot more fun for not me,
yeah,
but for people who
for
have
not
wound on them.
yeah. I think the other thing, just to kind of answer the question that we talked about briefly with Wound, is there is a character in Gloomhaven that does play around poison a little bit more, I think. I don't think it's
Ah,
completely. It might just the Plague Herald, which is one of the characters.
sounds
Um,
sounds fitting. Yep.
yeah, I don't think from memory it's got a bunch of cards that do things with poison, or it can also poison allies as well for some reason, and then remove it or something like that. Or I can't remember exactly, but I know that it just has some poison theme to it, amongst other things, which is interesting. So I think also a cool concept of a character. But then again, if you've got too many attacks, like lots and lots of attacks, poison becomes
It's a
OP.
fine
So
line, right? Of how do you design it around? Okay, you can apply it. Now what? Like, yeah, how can you make it scary? Although there is the tokens in Crimson Scales with the poison 2, poison 3, poison 4. I think that we haven't seen that's obviously tied to a character and please not a boss, right?
I really hope they didn't bring an extra token in just for a boss, because then it's on us. But yeah, yeah, I think that's the part, is that all of those conditions, like why I like poison so much is it's got the extra cool bit to it. I wish that other conditions had some of that extra play. Although I've maybe it just becomes too much bloat. I
Like,
mean, the conditions are pretty straightforward, which I think helps the game run smoothly.
you know how just on that, it increases the attack damage, but attack damage only. It doesn't do with pure damage and all of that. What if there was another type of poison that was named something completely different that was just more damage taken when you suffer damage, but not from an attack? It increases it by 1. That'd be kind of interesting.
I can see that being really cool if you had wanted to try to boost a retaliate character,
Mm.
right? Like
Or,
something
or
where like
wound, right? It could also be really good for wound.
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah, yeah,
traps.
wound as well. Yeah, yeah, something like that. Like when they take pure damage, they take an extra one. So,
Sounds
yeah,
busted.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sounds busted. All right, we will wrap it up there. Thank you very much, guys. Please be nice to me next week. Great Oak, you're a top bloke. Thanks again for joining us. We will be back next week. Are you retiring next week?
No.
Okay. I've got that in my outro, and I just haven't felt a need to remove it yet
Yeah,
because
that's
it
fair.
hasn't
I'll
happened
surprise you one day and say yes.
yet. Thank you, listeners. See you all next week. I've been your host, Eddie. I've been joined again by guys.
And remember, when it comes to rolling terribly, just abuse the great oak.